So, fun fact before I introduce myself, I wrote this morning. I've been actually planning on what I wanted to say to you guys for 4 years, literally 4 years. Whenever I would run, I would think to myself, and I would run, and it'd be great because I'd be distracted so I could run farther. But then I actually didn't write it down until this morning. And then when I wrote it, I practiced it, and it was 20 minutes long, which I think is totally characteristic of me to a T. So I spent the last 4 hours whittling it down to 1.5 pages, so everyone should be really excited. So, my name's Emily, just in case that was unclear. I have been at GCC since fall 2012, which is when I started my PhD in biochemistry and biophysics at Penn. And I just defended 2 weeks ago. And I submitted my thesis yesterday. So it's possible. I would like to say that it is possible to do it. Cool. So because I cut this from 20 minutes to 5 minutes, hopefully 5 minutes. Can't promise anything. I eliminated a lot of things that I wanted to say, and kind of like Dylan, I feel like I had to talk in a lot of generalities just because of time. So just in case it was unclear by the few statements I just said, I'm a lot freer to meet up now. So please meet up with me, and then I can tell you all the things that I deleted. And then I could find previous versions of this and then actually share. Okay, so I'm actually going to start 5 minutes now. Ready to go? Okay. I got 2 lines in. That was my 2 points. Cool. So some of you might not know this. I guess Trevor sort of introduced it, but GCC was actually the first church I ever belonged to. I think in the grand scheme of my life, it was the 4th Sunday service I had ever been to. So I didn't grow up in a church-going household, and it wasn't until a week before I graduated from college that seemingly out of the blue, God called me to come find him. And I'm not going to rehash my entire testimony. I actually got baptized while at GCC, so my testimony has been recorded and is on YouTube. And I have a really weird name, so you can find it really easily. So you can just insert those 5 minutes into these 5 minutes. See, this is how we eliminate things. Because God called me to find him out of nowhere, it's been a really interesting ride, I think, for me. And I'm really thankful that God chose me and called me, because I am very aware that he didn't have to do that. But I'm also thankful that in that, God really gave me this childlike, trusting faith really early on. Just from hearing him say, come find me, I feel like I didn't have questions. I kind of just went. And I still can't understand. My personality is not that personality at all. So I really still don't understand how that happened. But here I am. So I guess it worked. So GCC, because of that, has pretty much been synonymous with my faith walk. And I've learned so much about myself and about people and about God over the last 6 years. And I'm actually going to try to communicate some of the main points of that in the form of challenges. So I hope that these few points reflect the heart that Jesus has been growing in me over the last 6 years, and also can be a source of encouragement for you guys to run the race with me. And I thought of this cute way. I have 3 challenges, and see if you can see this. Ready? See if you can see the theme. Ready? Okay. So 1 is have grace. 2 is remember the covenant. And 3 is be the church. Get it? I got it. It hit me at 4 p.m. So the first one, I think, is have grace for yourself and others. I've been thinking a lot lately about what separates a Christian from a non-Christian in a practical sense. If you saw a Christian on the street, how would you know they were a Christian? And I feel like our first thought, when I think we first think of this, tends to go towards oh, they're really nice, or they're really compassionate, or they don't seem to get drunk and party, or something along those lines. But none of these are really defining characteristics of Christian or non-Christian, right? And Jesus said that we would know we are his disciples by how we love each other, how we physically show Christ to people. And I think sometimes this stresses people out. People think when they have to show Christ to people, they have to be perfect and always have everything together, and if they mess up, then they're doing a bad job. But I feel like when I was reflecting on this, I feel like the best way we can do that is really to choose to live in freedom that Christ gives us, and then let the rest kind of speak for itself. And I have a lot of stories behind that, but I cut all of them, so you can come talk to me about it later. But I really feel like the grace that's in our heart dictates the freedom that we live in our lives. And what I mean by that is I feel like the more you internalize and claim the undeserved grace of Jesus and his death and resurrection, the more you can claim freedom from your fears and bondages, and the more you can use that freedom to love others, as we were commanded in Galatians 5. And this is something we shouldn't have to strive for, really. I was really struck by this when one of my lab mates, who's a non-believer, told me a few weeks ago, quote, "You seem to live your life as an outpouring of love." And I was really overwhelmed by that. And the thing is that she wasn't, ever on my checklist of someone that I needed to impress with grace or anything. I was never trying to really evangelize to her or to be extra nice so she would know who Christ was. So truly, I think that Jesus knew what he was talking about when he said that they will know that we are his by how we love each other. And that's both in big critical moments and also just in our day-to-day lives. So the second challenge is to remember the covenant. So many times in the Bible, God declares over Israel and then over all of us, "I will be your God and you will be my people." And I think an important thing in that is that we shouldn't forget this is also a call to respond in love to the God who loved us when we didn't deserve it by being a people set apart for him. And in today's culture, that's really hard to be set apart, so I was trying to think of some practical ways, and these are kind of things that I've been thinking about really recently, like maybe over the last 6 months or a year. The first one I feel like is to act in the Spirit, and kind of the two really practical things in that are, one, to act in faith when you feel like God is calling you to act, even if you're not 100% sure that it's definitely God, or like maybe it's like, no, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I think you should just act in it if it's biblical and you feel like God is telling you to do it. And the second one I think is to realize and internalize that our prayers are powerful. I think sometimes, especially in like the political climate nowadays, when people are like, "Oh, my prayers are with you," and then politicians on the TV are like, "Prayers are nothing, things must be done," and I get that things must be done, but it's a lie that prayers are nothing. So I think that we should really remember that our prayers are powerful, and we shouldn't just dismiss them and get afraid and try to act and not pray. So that's the first thing. The second one actually reiterates a lot of what Lindsay was talking about, to really guard your thought life. And those can be things exactly like she was saying, like lies that the enemy is planting in you. Or it could also be really like seemingly innocuous things. Like I feel like I have a kind of self-deprecating sense of humor, so sometimes I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I know this is like really annoying, but can you help me with this?" Or like, "I'm really stupid, I can't figure out how to do this," la la la, something. In my mind, I don't think I truly mean it, but I feel like the more you say things like that over yourself, the worse it is. So definitely guard your thought life and don't let any sort of lies have a foothold in you. And the last one in the covenant part is to really live radically. And I think there are a billion different ways that people can live radically, and I feel like you should just respond to however God is calling you to live. I think one of those is to have accountability. That's not something a lot of people in the world do. A lot of people in the world meet with people and talk about very superficial things, but the whole point of accountability is to go deep real fast. And that's hard, but it's definitely worth it. And I think one of the other things that God has been impressing on me over the last 9 months is to have Sabbath rest. And that's extremely radical, especially when he told me to do that during the last year of my PhD, which was a really not logical time for something like that to happen. But it has been the best. I can't say how much amazing has come out of that. So those are just examples. I'm not saying either of those are 100% what you should do right now, but I think just respond to what the Spirit is saying and be able to live radically. And then the last one is to really be the church. So as you guys know, one of the many ways the church is described in the Bible is as the body of Christ. So in a practical and simple sense, this means that we are to be the living, breathing, acting manifestation of Christ here on earth until he comes back. I don't remember which speaker it was, but there was someone either at a retreat or a conference or something over the last few years, and I don't remember any details of anything. And I remember him asking something along the lines of, if GCC all of a sudden closed down, would Penn notice, or would Philly notice, or would anyone outside of GCC notice? And I think that really struck me, because they should notice. Because, like, in all honesty, when Jesus disappeared, people noticed, right? When he reappeared, history changed. And when he started moving throughout the first century church, thousands upon thousands believed, and millions do now. And I think that's why, especially the diakonos ministry is so close to my heart, and why I've served in it for the entire tenure of my time at GCC. I know it's not a perfect ministry, and I'm pretty sure I know that better than almost anyone else. And a lot of times, it feels like you're not doing much, or you're doing very little. But I was reminded this year, especially, that commitment, faithfulness, and relationship, i.e. sacrifice, is the best way to show Jesus to people, and it opens the doors for conversation. So whether it's through Diakonos or Logan Hope or any other local service, my challenge to you individually, but also especially you as a body, is that we sacrifice for our neighbors and let God be known to them through our faithfulness to them. My prayer requests are really embodied by these challenges that I just gave to you. What it boils down to is that I want my everyday life to be missional and focused on loving God and loving the people around me. I didn't say this, did I? But I'm also moving to Seattle, so we should hang out. Yeah. I didn't know that, so that's awesome. There we go. So never lived on the West Coast my whole life, so here we are, moving to the West Coast. But every single step of this process of my life, God has shown me that He is better than anything, and because of that, a lot of fear is giving way to freedom, and I'm really excited more than I am scared, which is also really uncharacteristic of me, to step into a new chapter of my life. So I really wanted to thank all of you guys for being supremely over-the-top encouragers, people running the race with me, truth reminders, and also beloved brothers and sisters in Christ. And I just wanted to say that I really love you guys.